I mean that, family. Our youths, our young ones, our children, we need them, redeem them, and clean them. You see them, or else the enemy will come and scheme them. Family. I mean that, family. Education for the nation that's full of salvation, biology, astronomy, and African theology, geography. Family. I love that, family. Whatever the age or the stage, that youth will be engaged with tutorials, activities, and videos from the studios of the Priest Isaac Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Family.
The International Homeschool Program is designed and recommended for all ages. The psychological state of our children is very important, especially in the environment that most of us live in. The International Homeschool Program provides online classes, activities, and videos that are fun for the youth and edifies them of their African heritage as well as the higher sciences. To enroll your family today, visit www.priestisaacinstitute.com, go to the main website, and search for Youth Corner. Or you can email priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com for a course sample. Thank you, thanks.
It's the Summer Solstice Extravaganza, a festival unlike any other in the world. Join us for 5 days and 5 nights in the beautiful Caribbean island of Antigua. Come and full enjoy the pristine, beautiful beaches, the historical sites on the island tour. Indulge in the experience of the cannabis tour. And of course, the sunrise and the sunset hike to Green Castle Hill, the Stonehenge of the Caribbean, amongst the megaliths that align with the stars. Remember that this is an all-inclusive wellness event to include your plant-based, fully vegan meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Transportation and accommodation will be provided for, plus yoga, meditation, and chalice talk with the Honorable Priest Isaac. Plus meet and greet with family and friends and the whole Rastafari experience Antigua Tea. Join us again from the 19th to the 23rd of June for the Summer Solstice Extravaganza. To reserve your space today, visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com.
And we do say blessed love to each and everyone. And of course, we glorify Negus and Nagas. And sitting on the word of the extravaganza, let me first give thanks to all of those who have already made up their mind to visit us from the 19th to the 23rd of June, which is right now. But a special word to all of those who will not be able to come to the island to visit us. For sure, the sunrise hike and the sunset hike, both hikes will be virtual. It can come straight to you. You definitely do not have to get up and go anywhere. You can join us again. That will be Friday morning. That is the 21st day. That's Friday, the 21st day of June. It will be at 5:30 in the a.m. And then Sunday, the 23rd day of June, it will be at 4:30 in the p.m. in the afternoon. Of course, every year, you know, we have a wonderful extravaganza, especially on the Sunday hike, where most of the people do come out. Yes, it will be virtual, but it's the next best thing. Let us put it that way, you know, from the actual tour and the hike up to Green Castle Hill. Now, remember, when you come to Green Castle Hill, you will be amongst the the countless of megaliths that align with the astronomical clock. And again, on Friday, which will be International Yoga Day, we will be having the International Yoga Hike. So just, get your living room prepared and get, the computer connected to the big screen television, and you'll be able to even yoga with us as the sun will be rising for the summer solstice. And again, you can do all of that virtually. So definitely let me just give you a better idea of exactly what is taking place on the virtual level. Now, you'll definitely have to pay attention to this. Pay attention now so you don't miss it. So again, obviously, okay, one more time. Yes, Royal Family. And of course, you could visit the website Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. Well, no, that is that's the Gmail, priestisaacinstitute.com. And once again, the sunrise hike, the 21st of June, the summer solstice itself will be at 5:30 a.m. virtually. And the sunset hike, the 23rd day of June, will be at 4:30 p.m. virtually. It's going to be a blast. And of course, each hike is only $30. And if you get both, you have a special offer there. Of course, that will be only $50. Definitely looking forward to each and every one with us. In a moment, we will have the Honorable King Seifa Sellassie. Many ones have been asking, where is Seifa Sellassie in the Rasta Round Table? Well, King Seifa Sellassie will be telling us what has been taking place in his domain in a few moments, because a lot of things have been happening, especially there in London and further afield in Bath itself, as it relates to the Nyabingi order. And of course, many ones know that the ancient Rasbandeli would have made a trad, and since then many things have changed. And King King Seifa Sellassie, of course, would have had different responsibilities that would have stepped up upon him, and we will be speaking of that in a moment. So just definitely brace yourself, and in a moment we'll be touching base.
Are you interested in learning ancient astronomy, archaeoastronomy, or astrotheology? Well, the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge is now offering certified courses in the field of astronomy, covering all the above mentioned. Sign up now for our online courses or visit us in Antigua in the Caribbean for 7 days and 7 nights of practical underground research, plus archaeoastronomical observation on Green Castle Hill. You will learn how to identify the stars, the constellations, and the planets, as well as their makeup and their value. This will be a studycation. Enroll today by visiting our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or sending us an email, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, or search us out on TripAdvisor, the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge, Ancient Astronomy, Archaeoastronomy, and Astrotheology, the wave of the future.
Yes, Royal Family, give thanks, and for sure give thanks. The Ministry of Education is definitely in full effect. We definitely once again give thanks to the Royal Negusa Nagas, the Royal King of Kings, Haile Selassie I, the power and might of the Holy Trinity, and give thanks for the presence of all those who are with us at this moment. Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. Give thanks for your patience and comprehension and understanding. And we have with us Brother Seifa Sellassie, also definitely sitting in. As I said, Brother Seifa Sellassie is a staple here in the Tiger's Temple and in the Tiger's Nest. Definitely Rasta Round Table for sure. And several Rasta Round Tables would have passed. Even the grand event we had, who is the Lion of the tribe of Judah? And I know the King ID came in a little late, or he just couldn't make it at all. So even in the chat, sometimes in the comments, you see ones asking, where is King Seifa Sellassie? And because he's the sword, of the Holy Trinity. And of course, his contribution is always definitely very important to us. But as I said, one of our esteemed elders, Ras Bandele, would have made a tradition. And I know from that time, the brethren would have taken up certain responsibilities and some other things I know he will share with us, maybe outside of that realms. So, as I said, no stranger to us, it's his home. King Seifa Sellassie, give thanks for your presence with us, man. Blessed Lord.
Yes, Honorable Priest Isaac, give thanks for the invitation again.
Of course.
Maybe give some praises to Kadamawi Haile Selassie, our great and esteemed leader who gathers I and I every time, every day. We give thanks for Empress Menen, the perfect balance, allowing I and I to come across with perfect love and harmony. So yes, family, I give thanks for being here yet again. As the Honorable Priest says, I was unable to make a few meetings of the round table as I was caught up in other works concerning making programs for the Fairfield House with another group. When I say another group, is a group where I and I have come together. We are called the Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie is a group of warriors around the throne of His Majesty, but they have a illustrious history in Ethiopia. They say you can actually read that it was begun with Emperor Menelik I. Whether that is how correct that is, I don't know. But in the 15th century, with King Zada Yacob, he established the Haile Selassie as well, and they're a group of warriors around the throne, spiritual and physical warriors. And then in the time of Menelik II, he established it again, and then it was carried on to His Majesty. Also, His Majesty was trusted when Ras Makonnen was about to pass. He trusted His Majesty's welfare to the Haile Selassie. And then during the wartime, the Haile Selassie were warriors who refused to cut their hair until His Majesty returned. So when His Majesty left Ethiopia, they grew their locks, they grew their hair, and they refused to cut their hair until His Majesty returned. And they were such a fierce warriors that when Mussolini's people captured them, they would behead them and carry their heads to their senior officers, by carrying them by the hair. They may have seen those pictures in the past of beheaded Ethiopians with their long hair and being held by the Italians. So we gather in that name as the Haile Selassie, insofar as we are Tewahida warriors, we are Ayabingi, and when we say Ayabingi, we say because this is the arm which is associated with the Ethiopian World Federation. So ones who are amongst this group are federation members. We have the international chaplain of the Ethiopian World Federation, the Honorable A.W. Prophet Elijah, and we have the Honorable Prophet. We have another one is Ras Amtision. He's the founder of the Haile Selassie Local 49 in Atlanta, Georgia. And we come together we're coming together with a group of programs to launch on the 23rd of July this year. We're trying to put a number of them together where we explain the biblical transition from the Tewahedo of faith into His Majesty Rastafari. You know, that is the actual transition which I try to make clear, of the continuation through the Tewahedo of faith, because Tewahedo means God in man. In Rastafari speak, we say I and I. It's the same thing. So we're not any different, but we're just coming through the Tewahedo of faith. We are Nyabingi warriors, but we also, what we actually say, we're Haile Selassie Ayabingi, but we are Nyabingi. We run on the Nyabingi order, same way. You know, so that is the strength and power of what I've been involved in. I've been putting some programs together with a sister called Sister Ayiko. She's a chaplain. She was the first Ethiopian World Federation female chaplain. She was called a chaplainess. And then there's some controversy came over her name, with people not saying she couldn't be called a chaplainess and these kind of things. And then we also have another sister in America who is, her name is Christos Samra. She's recently been baptized, quite recently been baptized in the Orthodox or in the Tewahedo faith. But she was a Nyabingi, she's a Nyabingi queen from Jamaica. She's the first administrator, female administrator, or to do the administration of the Nyabingi in Jamaica. So she's a very powerful sister. So the five of I and I together, we run, you know, we are creating these programs to bring forward the strength of the Haile Selassie, which is.
And I was showing the I was you were speaking of the Ethiopian warriors that refused to cut during the war.
Yes.
I'm not sure if these are.
Yeah, they look like them, Russ. They look
proper
like.
even
Yeah.
these beautiful brothers here.
Yes, they're the same. Look like them.
Okay, warrior class.
Yeah. Warrior class. Yes, sir. So that is where I and I is coming from. And we also, I mean, we also say we are Batawi, because they say in the Batawi they are born Rastafari, you know, or not, but they are born into the church. They're given as children into the church, and they live the hermit life and come on. But I and I, what we say is we are, when you're baptized, they say you're reborn. So we can be reborn, and we're our locks as Bahatawi in the same, in this modern time, you know, with the same strength of the Haile Selassie warriors. Yes, sir. So
we were talking about that in the previous. Sorry to cut in there. We were talking about that in the Batawi. We were bringing up the Batawi science in the previous Rasta roundtable.
Yes,
yeah,
I did hear it.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Well, you know, the Batawi are locks, man. They wear locks, but obviously they don't recognize Kadamari Haile Selassie as anything other than a king, as most Ethiopians. But I and I, we know that His Majesty is in His divinity, and this is the difference between I and those who, and generally those in the church of Ethiopian extraction, who do not see Kadamari Haile Selassie in any other light than he is a great king, but they do not actually recognize the divinity of His Majesty. But I and I, we know of the divinity of His Majesty through following the scriptures. And certain ones, like I was mentioning, the honorable Rassam Desion in America, he's like a walking scripture, and he can draw so many things out of the scriptures where he can show you that His Majesty has performed things even in his coronation. After the coronation, there was a feast after the coronation, and His Majesty at that feast of it, he actually gave 25,000 warriors. He gave them a feast of raw meat and wine and a special herb, and he passed every one of these warriors a special herb called Gurso. And the Gurso is used to season the Tej wine, you know. And His Majesty gave 25,000 warriors this special plant, this special green herb, because and our brethren has come through. I think it's from Isaiah 25. I think it's from Isaiah 25. It's talking about the lees and the wine. He gave them lees and the wine, and you know, and my brethren brings all of these things out. You know, maybe we can bring him forward to the round table one time, honourable priest. You know, to make him show the item some of these wonderful things which he can bring out, where he says that His Majesty is the living tablet, how he left the temple and all of these things. You know, he's a great scholar of biblical interpretation. You know.
Like
so yes, sir. So this is where we're coming from, and these are the programs we're putting together, you know, with this brother, because he is a special biblical scholar, you know, who can certainly know the fullness of Kadamawi Haile Selassie in his coronation. He can show you everything in the scriptures of the things that have happened in Ezekiel, in Isaiah, so much in his Revelation. And then also the Honorable Prophet A.W. Elijah, he's actually proficient in Ge'ez. So he keeps us in line, you know, because the interpretation of the Ge'ez is much more intricate than the interpretation of the English language. So as he's competent in that, he comes forward and can always give a teaching and a guidance, you know, of his he can give a teaching and a guidance of his overstanding. So when we're even interpreting things, sometimes he even challenges what I say, you know, because he can come with a Ge'ez, with the Ge'ez interpretation, which is far more intricate. Yes, sir.
So,
yeah.
I was saying on that same level there, you know, I kind of wanted the ones, especially, you know, the younger listeners, to get a grasp exactly where you are, because when I say where you are, not where you are there. Well, yeah, everyone know you're in England, but still that connection. So Fairfields and Bath. What I want,
yes, sir,
because I know you're getting there and we're going to speak about a few things. I wanted just a clarity to the family. Is it that, number one, you are now the head of the Nyabingi at Bath? And even in that clarity, somewhere within that reasoning, if you could just tell us a bit about the ancient Rasbandeli, you know, for those who may not know who he may be.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Give thanks. Well, Rasbandeli was the head priest and a keeper of the Fairfield House, because he was one who fought when they were trying to close Fairfield House. He fought to keep, with others, to keep Fairfield House alive and to keep a presence there. And I think for the last 9 years, he's actually kept a Saturday Isis there. But because he's also a community leader of the Southwest, you know, the Southwest of England, which is Bristol, and that's where he came from. And he's got a cultural centre there in Bristol. But you know, back from the 80s, he's been involved as a community leader, and at different buildings where he was keeping the black community together, the Rastafari community, you know, in the Southwest. So he became the leader of the Southwest. So that's how he became to be the head priest of Bath. And I think he had a title. If he went out on official work, he was a chaplain. You know, he had the official chaplain, but he also had they used to say he was the high priest. Well, some people actually oppose that title. You know, they say there's no high priest in Nyabingi other than Kadamawi Haile Selassie. But he was the high priest. You know, he was a very highly-full brethren. He is a very highly-full brethren with a beautiful family, as an exemplar to the whole world, because he's got I think he's got about 11 children altogether, I think, but 9 children with his queen, you know, and they're a perfect family as an example of Rastafari liberty. So that's Ras Bandeli, and he was always, whenever he gave Isis, he would always give Isis to, or give praise and mention to King Emmanuel or Prince Emmanuel. He would always give remembrance to the Prophet Gad. He would always give remembrance to Mortimer Planner for the Nyabingi, because Fairfield House was to be a unified house for everyone, and that was Ras Bandeli's vision, that everybody could come there and give Isis, you know. So, but he was a Nyabingi man himself, you know, but he did allow, you know, he in the sake of unity, he allowed the anybody to come forward who praise His Majesty to come to Fairfield House, you know, and giving Fairfield House a special a place, you know. Yes, sir. So that's Ras Bandeli, and he passed, and when he passed, I administered the funeral, you know, in a priestly capacity. So this is where I came into the fold, and then also in February, I think it was February, and Isis, you know, he asked I to continue the work. You know, not only, you know, amongst it, there was a witnesses, you know, it was filmed, and it was a very emotional occasion, because Ras Bandeli, you know, he knew he was sick, and he was, you know, he needed to pass on the baton, you know. So he passed on the baton to I. But however, there's ones and ones amongst the community where he come from, or they're not happy with that. And you know, these are the things we're having to deal with at the moment. But it's just how it just is what it is, and it's like they say to Jonah, when you want to make something pass you, you know, I could have said, well, I don't really, this could pass, you know, like should I really do this job? But
I could ask you why they're not pleased with that.
Because well, one, they haven't seen the evidence. They haven't seen the evidence of the past. So, well, you know, where Ras Bandeli passed the baton to I, and the reason they haven't seen it is because it's an emotional occasion, and it would have to be approved by the king's family to release the video of it, and it hasn't happened, and they would, you know, and so ones are questioning whether who said Ras Bandeli gave out the baton, and these kind of stories, you know, when things change.
But they don't. But you have witnesses, though. You there? You there, my brother? Some mystic vibration, because I myself, you there, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How
It
is
just
it on
cut
your
off.
end?
I don't know what happened there.
Because actually the rain is coming down here heavy. It has been raining throughout the day like that, some heavy clouds. So the rain is heavy. So I was wondering if it was on my end, why you went out there, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, my Lord, you know, in the interest of time,
Yeah,
I think, you know, give thanks for, you know, that full update.
Yes.
And of course, enough respect to Ras Bandeli and the energy that I think he's, as you just said, an example to the Rastafari community, even in, you know, where you are, you know. So we give thanks, man.
That's
I know
right.
there will be fighters. I don't want to go into this, but I believe there will be fighters for different reasons. And it may be surprising. I think I will touch upon it, man, because you see, that is a serious position that you have. And we are not here. I'm going to say it. I hope you don't mind. We're not here to,
No.
to prove anything to anyone in that sense. Now, yourself on this program, and I think in some private conversation, you are a staunch individual when it comes to African tradition being run by Africans. And this is an
Yes, sir.
intellectual conversation, because some people, it might just fly away. You are you definitely don't play with that. You say African tradition, like Nyabingi should be run by Africans. Now, many times we've been here, and I know you are a person, you go to the comments and you go to the chat, and people are in the chat referring to you as a white man. All right. Now, on this same program, you would have already expressed your African links, even down to your father, Chief, if I'm not mistaken, everything, you know. So, and the reason why I brought it up again is because it is a serious position. And as you say, there are those who are not too happy for it. And, the reality is colorism is a serious thing amongst us. Very, very serious thing amongst us. And again, there is a man that stand not for no colorism, you stand for African pride. And right here, you already proclaimed that the African tradition should be run by an African. So then those who are saying, like in the comments, but this white man talking, I don't know, you might want to set them straight. But I think even in just my comments alone, I think I would have already set them straight. But it's up to the eye.
Yes. And I would say where
these
His
ideas
Majesty
linger, you know?
Yeah, well, where His Majesty said, where there is African blood, there is cause for unity. And I certainly have African blood. So I don't have to say no more,
Give thanks.
That's right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That is why I put it in a way that we don't have to prolong it. Because, I prefer not even to bring it up. But especially, I'm a man, I like to slew. I'm a tiger, eh? So I slew the prey. They like to come in some cynical ways. I put out a challenge the other day. I know you see the challenge. Anybody, I open the door. Anybody that have anything to say, especially if you disagree, the tiger's nest open. We won't bite. And I'm calling you to debate. Yeah, I get my popcorn. I don't really eat popcorn, but I'm just using it as a term. And whatever, and I sit back and give you the hour. I don't think I get a response yet. I'm just showing you. That's how you quell all the talkers and the yappers. So we are the planners and the whatever.
And also the sister who I moved with as well, who is working with idea, she's mixed race as well, So we and when I say mixed race, I don't even like that word, to be truthful. We're like black people, mixed race. I don't, we're just light-skinned black people. When we grew up in this country, it wasn't nothing about mixed race. We were black people, light-skinned black people. We had to fight for being black in this country. Back in the 50s, Rasta. So when people want to
bring it up, I'm kind of glad it's to clear it up.
Yes, sir. Yes, but that's just how it go,
That's the problem.
So, but there's all kind of overstanding, but he's an African liberation struggle, this and his repatriation we're trying to deal with,
You've done
so. I'd leave it as that, Yes.
So my lord, let's get into it, man. From the time we went through the line of Judah discussion, and I didn't put up the full videos yet. I still will, but I had some editing to do on that. And we've been speaking about a few different things on the theological level, especially as it links to the Orthodox Church. And I want to get certain understanding from the eye, because the eye is well wrapped into the Orthodox Church too. You're a deacon within such a faith. So how do you stand, because I know I brought it up the previous time. I wouldn't say, but I would believe that there were those who were not too pleased with maybe the idea that Rastafari is not accepting the virgin birth, because I highlighted one of my elders here in Antigua, King Sagaifu, I'll call him again. And he's a very staunch advocate of that. He don't play with that. He said you can't even get saved if you know what I mean, unless you accept the virgin birth. When he say virgin birth, he don't mean no symbolic virgin birth. He mean no the Holy
Actually,
Spirit.
yeah.
Right. And he goes as far as to say the death and the resurrection and the ascension of, and no symbolism he's speaking, literal. So I
Yeah.
know that the Orthodox Church do stand firm with that. Most Rastas
Yes.
don't seem to lean on that too heavy. I just wanted to know, not necessarily where even you alone stand, you know, but how you know, blend that with the church and the fullness of the Naya being and everything together as one.
Well, the church,
I'm thinking of it.
they say, you know, if you don't believe in the literal resurrection of Christ in the fullness that he rose on the third day, if you don't see the actual resurrection that he rode on the third day, then there is no Christianity, you know. That is what they say. So that is what you fully must believe. But I would say that you know, you have to allow your intelligence to actually take a stance in these things, and that there's a literal virgin birth and he rose on the third day. I mean, I actually can't accept that as a literal happening. The reason I can't accept it is because I would have to, when to reject something, you would then have to find one reason to reject it is because it's incredible in your for your eye rates, for your intelligence. And two, if you're going to say you reject that, well, then what could it possibly have meant? Where could where could this possibly idea have come from? So that is where I actually step in. You know, to say, well, what possible explanation could it be? I mean, when they say, for instance, literally that they saw Christ, 500 people witness Christ rise up to heaven and fly up into the clouds. How could that be possible? You know, you ever see a body climb up and go up into the clouds? Not you know, you wouldn't imagine it happening just to be able to watch it. But then you could think to yourself, well, if you was up on the top of a mountain and the cloud came down on a mountain, because you're up 8,000 feet above sea level, and then you're up higher than that, you know what I mean? Like Addis Ababa is 8,000 feet above sea level, and then there's mountains which are even higher than that in Ethiopia. So could he have been on a mountain and the cloud has come and enveloped the mountain and he disappeared up into the cloud? I mean, it's a possibility, you know, because it says that in the Acts of the Apostles that he left up in a cloud, and he from Olive Mountain. He was at the Mount of Olives, and then he would return in the same place in a bodily manner. Well, could we anyhow attribute that to His Majesty? Well, yeah, because His Majesty was born at Ajersagoda. Ajersagoda means the olive plateau. That's in the Aroma language.
I didn't know that.
So His Majesty born in the olive plateau or Ajersagoda. So is that a possibility? Yes. There's a very great distinct possibility, you know, because and when the clouds come down, when the clouds surround, when the clouds come and the rain comes, the clouds surround the mountain. It happens. It's a logical possibility. So, but I actually, if you ask me, if Christ rose on the third day, and then he was living and was walking around, I don't think so. You know, when I say I don't think so, I don't believe that. And the reason I don't believe it is because one reason I don't believe it is because when I first went into the church, oh, and that's another point. When you used to go into the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, you know, you had to be of African descent to get baptized. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're back in them days, you know, like in the 90s there, when, you know, they would say, what's your heritage?
Mm.
You know, you wouldn't just go and get baptized and you're not of African heritage,
True.
you know.
There is
But
some.
they've changed it now. It's changed now, but then that's how it was.
So
You
before
know?
you go on, but okay, so is this an Ethiopian tradition like in the time of the emperor and his like a European go to the church? Would he be allowed to get baptized in Ethiopia?
Well, I don't know because I didn't really have any. I never had any
I do.
entanglement with the church until I went there. You know, when I find the church,
Okay.
I actually found the church on African Liberation Day, or you know. I went to a meeting and met somebody at the church from a deacon from the church, and then he, boom, and carried me to the church. So yeah, but I don't know what it was before. But I know definitely now they've got European deacons and all that into the church, or you know, people into the church who are not African. You know,
Okay.
so it's very I don't know. But whether it's the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, whether it's the Western Church, they do not believe. If you do not believe that Jesus Christus was died, and you know, when you read the creed, it says, you know, he died and he rose on the third day, and you know, like that's the part of the Ethiopian creed, you know. But I can't accept it. And another thing what I can't accept is when I went into the church, when I used to say, because when I went into the church, we go there in the zeal for Kadamawi Haile Selassie, you know, oh, we're following Haile Selassie. And then all of a sudden they say to you, oh, no, Haile Selassie, well, he's just a king. He's nobody. They're all lying to Judah. Haile Selassie is nobody. That was their attitude. So I said, well, what about Psalm 87? Oh, that's nothing to do with Haile Selassie. It's to do with Maryam.
Yes.
Because that man was born in her, right?
Yeah.
So what about the man? You know, what about the man? This man was born there. So who is he? You know, so these are the things straight away where my um intelligence wouldn't allow me to actually accept these things, you know, it wouldn't allow me to accept it. So, but I went in that church actually to find out the truth between Kadamawi Haile Selassie and Jesus Christ. That was what I went in there with, that mission. I wanted to know what happened. What is Haile Selassie got to do with Jesus Christ? That was my mission in the church. And I went in there for years and years and years and years and years. You know, I had plenty of trouble in the church, plenty, you know, because I always wanted to find out, you know, I wouldn't just accept what anybody's saying to me. I want to find out my own reasoning on it. So how I actually became a deacon now, he's from a Liquor Papas. Now, a Liquor Papa, they have, in the church, they have monks. The monks are a different breed to the ordinary Kesses. So, you know, they look the same, but a monk is called a kumos, a bishop. You know, a bishop in the church is, you know, what we call a bishop. But then there's the monk bishop, so it was called kumos. Well, there was a kumos, Abba Jesus Kinetibeb, and he used to be the priest he used to actually serve His Majesty at Cathedral, at Trinity Cathedral in Addis Ababa. And he came to the West, and then he became like the Rasta's priest. He used to, you know, enough people in the church. He used to baptize Rasta and everything. So he was a very strict priest as well. He was very strict, and you know, and that man. So I used to go to his church. You know, eventually my soul father passed, so I went to his church. My soul father was a Rasta man who trimmed. His name was Abba Father Mikhail. What's his name? Mikhail. Tesfa Mikhail. And he passed. So then when he passed, now Abba became my soul father. And I used to reason with him and talk to him and go and visit him and reason with him. And I used to talk to him about the knowledge what I had, you know, like the knowledge about the calendar and all of these things. And he said to me, oh, this knowledge you have, he said, this is this is the Bahar Hasab. The Bahar Hasab is the deep knowledge of the calendar. He said, where did you get this knowledge? What did you learn? And I said, oh, I just studied, you know. He said, wow. He said, you're rich. You know, he said, you're very rich. And I used to reason with him and I reasoned with him. And I asked him if he would ordain me. And he said, I don't know, I'll think about it. And he thought about it for a good couple months. You know, he didn't just baptize, you know, he anointed me, you know. And when he anointed me, it was on Ragel Day, Haile Raguel. Haile Raguel is the power of the scepter of Ethiopia, what the king carries, the power of the scepter. That is his day. That is the angel of the scepter. You know, and he opened the first church. Menelik opened the first church in his name on Intota Mountain. And in 1877. Well, 1877 is when, if you know when I talk about the age of when I talk about the different ages, it changes from one age to the age. It actually begins. It begins on 1877. That is the first. Yes, and that is the first church in 1877 that Menelik established. You see, which was to be the original foundation of Addis Ababa. You know, so yeah, you know, because it was on Tota Mariam is where he in Tota Mariam is where he built the church, so that became the central hub. But before that, he actually did plan to have the central church to be this it's called Deborah Hale, the mountain of power of Kedus Raguel, you know, which is the power of the scepter or the mountain of power. So that was the foundation of Addis Ababa. So I was actually ordained on that day. I was actually anointed on that day under the name of Haile Raguel, the power of Raguel, you know, and anointed with oil, you know. So that is how, but because I used to talk to this priest, and even things I used to talk to him, he couldn't even answer. You know, when I used to talk to him about the calendar and the power and the different, you know, Lake Tana, because even what's his name?
Lake Tana.
Kedus Yared, he came from up Lake Tana, and this is where the knowledge came from. It's called the Deep River, because the River Nile is a mirror image of the Milky Way. So the stars, and you know, and so this correlation between the stars and the Earth is what I used to talk to the Abba about, and Abba then took it upon himself to anoint me, you know. So that is how he anointed. So in that anointing, I then had the ability to what I could actually do in the church. I could read the scriptures, the epistles of Peter and Paul, and I could carry the maskell, you know, the ceremonial maskell in the church. That was the limit of my duty in the church that I could actually perform. But I just wanted to get my foot in the door, so that I could not to become an ordained priest, like with the dogma, because you know, when you go to theological school, you're taught dogma. But I obviously have a knowledge which I can actually know what the Bible power of the Bible. I can bring it down from the heavens, you know, through the eye knows, you know, like when I do my history of the ages, etc. You know, this is what His Majesty sent I in the church to learn. You know, His Majesty gave I that mission. You know, because in learning about the ages and the science of the ages. I mean, when I joined the church, all I received was an Ethiopian liturgy, the original liturgy, which I had, which has got all of His Majesty's name. You know, all the prayers are dedicated to His Majesty. And I also received the Ethiopian king list from my godfather. And that is when I got that Ethiopian king list. I said, there must be more to this king list than just a list of kings. Mm-hmm. So then I started to learn about the astronomy and the ages of time. And I started to do the mathematics and work it all out, how that clock works, the zodiac clock. I worked out how it works and how the ages change from one to another, and how the 6,000 years of the Bible is only a quarter of the clock. It's a 26,000 year clock. So then if you're going to say the Bible is only 6,500 years old, there's got to be something wrong in that for a start. If you're going to say the Bible is 6,500 years old, how can the Bible only be 6,500 years old? That's only really 3 ages. Nearly 3 ages. 2,160 years approximately for an age. Well, 6,000 years is only 3 ages. Well, there's 12 ages in the clock. So that means it's a quarter. So the 4 quarters gives you the whole. So when you can work out 1 quarter, you can work out the rest. So, it's an astronomical thing. So this is where I come into the virgin birth now. Because now, this is my interpretation of the virgin birth in the science and in the mathematics. Because
when I don't want to leave out the part with I know you have there's an energy that you bring to the church as it relates to Waziro Yeshima Bet. So
yes,
in that piece as well. Got you.
Yes, sir. Yes, because because the whole of the church, is predicated on Mariam. On Wazira Mariam, the mother of Christos. Well, if we actually go back and even look into ancient Kemet, Marie, Marie is of the waters, and Yam is of the earth. So she's the waters of the earth. Mariam is the waters of the earth. And the waters of the earth, where this knowledge in Kemet began, was around the area of Chad and the plains of Chad, where the water used to come, where it used to be floodplains of Chad, and then these floodplains of Chad then moved down into the underwater caverns, and then they go to the River Nile and these places. So the River Nile becomes a river. The River Nile becomes a source of the god, who they call Happy. That is where he comes. Well, the River Nile goes into an island called Elephantine. Elephantine Island used to be called Yebu. Yebu is a Nigerian name, because the people who are in West and East Africa were all under one spiritual umbrella, I would say. So this is where I say, so where does Yeshima Bet come into it? Well, His Majesty is the god of the Nile, because they called the god of the Nile, they called him Happy. And he came, and if you read in the ancient text, it was in the place called Ta Meri, T-A Meri. You hear people talk about that ancient Kemet is called Tameri and all of that. Well, the modern name of Kadamari Haile Selassie on his Silver Jubilee, when he had the great feast, he was called Talaku Meri.
Yes.
Talaku means the great leader who rules in his right, in his way, in merriness. So this is where the merry comes in. This is where the word even merry comes in, So His Majesty is the Talaku Meri, because he is the same entity brought, the god of the Nile, who they call Happy. He's the god of the Nile in this time, because that woman, the idea of Mariam suckling the child on the breast, the ideas come from the Elephantine Island or Yebu, because in Yebu is where the 2 confluences of the River Nile, the Blue Nile and the White Nile, come into there, and there was a nilometer, a meter, which would always measure the height of the Nile, and they would know from the height of the Nile in that island when after the occurrence happens, where the heliacal rising of Sirius happens, which is on His Majesty's Earthstrong. When that happens, the River Nile would flood its banks. And when the River Nile flooded its banks, that is how the land further down into Egypt, etc., becomes fertilized and fertile. So that is the idea. So the whole idea of the virgin birth and the suckling on the breast is that God of the River Nile, the young child of the River Nile, who would be born on the River Nile, suckling on the breast of the mother, because the two fountains where the Blue Nile and the White Nile go into Elephantine Island or Yebu is the idea of he would suck on, that was the breasts of the mother. And also when the Nile now broke after the astronomical occurrence happened, after the astronomical occurrence happened with the heliacal rising of Sirius, after that happened, that is when the Nile would flood its banks. So that would be Mother Earth breaking her waters and giving birth. So this symbolism is all tied into the River Nile and the God of the Nile, and this is where His Majesty is. So so where would we bring Yeshimabet into it? Well, the reason we bring Yeshimabet into it is because she's the Mother of God. If Jesus Christus was the Almighty in His time, and Mariam, with that relationship of the earth and the breaking waters, which is Mari, waters of Yam, the earth, we now bring Yeshimabet into the same position. So where they always say the Lord's Prayer, then they give the prayer unto Mariam through the angel Gabriel, because from the story in the Bible, where the Gabriel spoke into the ear of Mariam and so told her she would give birth. That is where, so it says, by the salutations of the saint angel Gabriel, oh my lady Mariam, I salute thee. I have changed that, I've adapted it to not the angel Gabriel, the angel Raphael, because in 2022, where I was involved in opening the church of Raphael in Harar, what happened there? Well, they transferred the ark, the tablet, from the church of Kiddush Michael, and they opened the new church with Raphael in the same grounds. Well, when they did that, that angel Raphael, because they always talk about Gabriel and Michael as the archangels of the church. Well, when they brought Raphael into the equation, Raphael, Gabriel, and Michael are the three highest archangels. So in being involved in that,
and Uriel
certainly elevates, because that tomb, that this tablet is actually built over the tombs of His Majesty's mother, Yeshimabet, father, Ras Makonnen, and his brother, Dejmach Yilma. So you may say, oh, well, Dejmach Yilma, how does he become involved? Well, like when after, in the Christian story, James, the brother of the Lord, became the head bishop, because the Lord wasn't there. He had translated, he'd gone. So now we've got Yilma in place of His Majesty, who has gone, because His Majesty has translated, as far as I'm concerned. I think I'm pretty positive that His Majesty translated, So like did Enoch, he is God, he walks with God, he is God. So
but how the story for Yilma would have passed on, like, like a good long time even before the coronation, etc.
Yes, of course, yes, but I'm
asking.
Yes, but it's symbolic.
Of course, fair enough.
It's not, is the symbolic is the symbolic correlation there. We've got the brother of the Lord. So it's not a new theology, it's a continuation. And His Majesty's mother and father, we know where their tombs are. They don't know where Joseph and Mary are, but they know where Kadamawi Haile Selassie's mother and father are, and they built a church over it. in Kiddush Raphael. And Kiddush Raphael now is one of the three highest archangels. There's three archangels around the throne. And Raphael, in Kiddush Raphael now, he's the angel of Yeshimabet, his mother, His Majesty's mother and father. So what we have actually is we have the ancient Trinity of the Father, Mother, and Son, as it was in ancient Kemet, with Heru and Asar and Aset. We now have the reinstating of the Trinity of the man, woman, and child. It's symbolized in His Majesty is this divine child, and we've got His mother and His father, and His brother is buried there too. So it is a very high knowledge. And then, and I was actually challenged by one of my fellow priests, when I say chaplain, he said, "Oh, who told you that?" He kind of fight me against that, when I said that, because when I say things, some people fight me, They say, "Oh, where are you saying this? You can't say this. This is the Christian religion. You can't do this. You can't do that." And then boom, he come and when he saw the liturgy where it said that Raphael, Gabriel, and
Michael
were the three major arcana angels around the throne. So he said, "Oh, he had to come back and say, 'Oh, yes, brother, you remember you said that?' Yeah, man, respect." You know what I mean? Because he said, "How did you know?" Because I was there. I was part of it. I was there. I was part of, I stayed with the tablet the whole night, I was the only one who stayed with the tablet the whole night, with the priest. And moved to the church the next day.
Yeah,
Everybody was sleeping. Everybody was sleeping. They went to get their sleep. I didn't. I was there the whole night with the tablets, to elevate His Majesty's mother and father into that height. So yeah, that's just my.
You have a serious history there, man. I think I know you're kind of skipping through it, but that's a serious history I have there, man. If you're not listening properly, it may go over your head. So I just kind of want to catch it a good. So again, properly. So this was the dedication of the chapel in Harar, right?
Yes.
Okay, Ethiopia.
In Ethiopia.
I have the video here, Man of the Millennium, where they show you where they went and they unraveled the grave of Wazir Yeshimabet, according to the video.
Okay.
And the little chapel. I mean, I met the brother and everything, Takir, that did the video and everything, but something about that part is maybe it has me a little baffled. But I'm getting from you now that you were present at, as you said, the inauguration.
Yes, of that church.
And even now, when you put that little touch to it, that you know what I mean, whatever happened and whoever had to leave, you were the only one with the tablet all night long, going into, I guess, the day for when the ceremony would have gone up, if I'm getting the story correct.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice little history you have there that I know you can expand upon one of these times. I would want to hear a bit more of it, and yeah, give thanks to hear it now. I never knew that, but give thanks, man. Rastafari.
Yes, and so this is and this is the work which and I mean the man them live in Ethiopia and I leave England to go and take part in that.
True, man.
Because I knew what I was doing. I saw the power of it. And even, and when I lived in Ethiopia, I went to Debre Libanos, for Timkat, and I was there with the ark, 6 arks.
What?
Which they bring up to the Meter. The Meter is the field, and they bring 6 arks from all of the surrounding churches. And I stayed there with the arks them the whole night. I slept outside the tent with my guy and I drew the flag over me, Yeah, man. Because I move with this, I just move with the spirit. And
well, when you say 6 arcs, but tabat does mean ark, isn't it? Isn't that the definition? I read that.
Yes, it does mean the ark. It's the they are representations of the ark, but this is what I wanted to come into as well.
Please.
I wanted to come into the idea. I'm just going to turn this light on. It's starting to get dark.
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah, man. Give
yeah,
thanks, you know.
yeah,
Tim Cat.
yes, yes, that was Timcat. So yeah, you see all the arcs.
The
You
carrying
see,
them. Yes, yes.
yeah. Well, at Debre there's six because Debre is the seat of the Solomonic kings. That is the special place, because that is where Tekla Imanot, Kedus Tekla Imanot, he was the founder of that monastery in the 14th century, you know. So that is so I make sure that I make that trod there and make,
That Tekla Hymenot,
yeah.
how did he leave the scene? You use the term translated. Isn't it him I would have read in some Ethiopian storybook at time of a Tekla Hymenot that either disappeared or they would have seen, one of
Would
them.
I think he actually they say that he flew down a mountain or something like that. There's some kind of story like that he flew off the mountain and he never
Him,
passed or something like
it's him.
that.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I just want to be clear. I know they have several Tekla. I know a couple of Ethiopians that have the name Tekla Hymenot.
Yeah,
Hymenot.
but Tekla Imanot, he founded the monastery. He re-established the Solomonic kingdom after the Zagwe dynasty.
True, yes, not true.
Yeah. So yeah. So I moved them kind of mystic moves. I move with Russ. So I mean, I don't. It's just His Majesty take me on these missions. And I go on them and I just live with the spirit. And like I say, as the I them know, I mean, the knowledge which I have is, I never had any theological training. I never had any high education or anything. I was just an ordinary youth, what I mean, went to ordinary school. And then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but through years of research and devotion to His Majesty, I've learned some very high knowledge, which as the I know I've deciphered the Shabaka stone. And that is a very and as you saw, when I showed some of the geometry concerning with the Shabaka stone and the golden triangle and all of those things, the original Ark of the Covenant, the Ark of the Covenant in the Evans, which takes us back to 3000 or not BC, which is the Ark at Axum there. What can I say? It's just the proof is in the pudding.
Yes, for sure.
And if anybody wishes to challenge that, the mathematics, mathematics are either right or wrong, and I can actually show you the virgin birth mathematically, because it is the power of the Trinity which gives you the 39,000 years, roughly a 39,000 year cycle, which
Before we
then
go to
comes
that
down.
deep science, before we go to the deep science, it just came to me. Amla, Yokona Amla. Where did he fit in? Isn't he the one that came in after the Zagwe?
Yeah, he's around 1100. Yakuna Amlak is around 1100 and odd AD.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a Yakuna Amlak.
I was trying to remember a name. True, you mentioned Hymenot, so I was saying.
Yeah, but Amlak is God, Amlak in Ethiopian language is God. There's the name of God, Amlak. Yakuna, I don't know what Yakuna means, but he's in that dynasty he's in the dynasty there. I think I don't know if it's 11 something, just 11 something, but it's after him. It's after him that Tekla Imanot founded
Okay.
the monastery what I was talking about there, the 13th, 14th century, Yeah. So
you get that, audience, we just want to be clear, this is a university, eh? Yes,
sir. Yes, sir. So these things, I mean, and one thing I will say, I mean, the Ethiopian Church is I would say it's not the church which His Majesty sent to I and I. They reverted it back. As I think when I gave you the speech about when I interpreted the speech from the Abuna, when the Abuna gave the maskal to when His Majesty gave the maskal to the to the church in 1955, you know, and the Abuna interpreted that, he interpreted the, what would I say? Or he gave a speech to His Majesty, giving thanks for His Majesty's work and giving that victory maskell to the church. And in that, making the church autocephalous in that period. After 1974, there was a concerted effort to turn the church back under the Coptic Church, where His Majesty had, when in that speech, the Abuna said that the church had been on 1600 years of a unstable foundation. Well, His Majesty, and he said that His Majesty had brought them, given them a light, a spiritual and temporal light to follow, and that the church should maintain, it was the duty of the church to maintain that light that they've been given by His Majesty. But they didn't, and they haven't. And this is why you're seeing all these white images of Jesus and all of that in the church, because they've put it back under the Church of Rome, you know, where they're I'm not saying they're not brother and sister churches, but they've put it back under the Church of the Coptic, because even though there was a brethren, one of our and a brethren read a speech the other day, 100-year anniversary of the Church of Kedus Marcos, which is in the grounds of the palace where His Majesty, which he gave to be the university. And there he actually read out a speech and said that that the Ethiopian Church was under the mother church of the Coptic Church. Well, that's not so. When His Majesty made the church autocephalous, they became sister churches or brother and sister churches or whatever, you know, but not a mother. That's not the mother church. But now I heard a statement the other day calling it the mother church. Well, that is definite proof that they've actually reversed the work of His Majesty in making the church autocephalous and giving it to I, because it was the Ethiopian World Federation that called for the church, even in America, I think it was in about 1950, just after 1959, just after the autocephalous, His Majesty sent the church to America. The Ethiopian World Federation called for the church, or the black people of the world. So it wasn't this white church what they're going on with now. You know, like, even though His Majesty was the defender of the faith of the Eastern Oriental churches, you know, he didn't have a ambition to put it under white domination. I'm pretty sure of that. You know, where you're going to be looking for white Jesus and all of that. You know, and all the Ethiopian people are going kissing images of white Jesus and kissing the walls of the churches with white Jesus and all of that in it. So these things can't be right. So if we're going to say it's not right, well, what is right? What is right is this year. I know I wanted to come on the program, we didn't actually get around to it, you know, but I wanted to come on the program and show the item about Fasika, this year, Fasika.
Yes.
Easter.
Yes.
It dropped on the 5th of May, Ethiopian Victory Day. That means that Christ was risen, because in the Ethiopian Church, they say, Christ is risen on that day. You know? That is what, and they say it every year. Every year. Yeah, Christ is risen. Well, on that day, on the 5th of May this year, the Fasika and the Victory Day of Ethiopia dropped on the same day. I mean, you know, and this year is the 149th year anniversary after 1877, when the age began to change. Don't forget it takes 432 years to change the age. We're now in the 150th year. Is the 149th anniversary from 1877. We're in the 150th year, which now brings us into the Noah calendar. The Noah calendar is 150 years, is 150 days. 350 days give you 450. You know, it's 15-month calendar. And what that actually does, it ties the Ethiopian calendar to the Western calendar, because from September to December is 3 months, and then from December, January to the following January is 12 months. So we've got the 15 months calendar. It's a Noah calendar. And this is and they call that the Noah Hasab. You see how I told you that I had the knowledge of the Bahar Hasab?
Yes, sir.
Also the Noah Hasab, and the Noah Hasab, and even in that, Russ, I can't go into it, but I can even show you that Prince Emmanuel's 7th of February drops into that same structure.
I would believe.
You see, and I could show you, but we haven't got time to go into it. But I could show you, it takes 2 years. I could show you over 2 years that it will drop into Prince Emmanuel's 7th of February date for the beginning of the new year. But that it's another science as well, because how we measure 1 year in the ancient times, they didn't measure 1 year, they measure 2 years. You actually have to measure 2 years at a time as a block, not 1 year. But that's a calendrical thing, to do with the Bahar Sab. And even down to the Sabbath, in Ethiopia, they keep both Sabbaths, they keep Saturday and Sunday. It's called the Ewo Statiwos. They keep both Sabbaths, Saturday and Sunday. And it's where they didn't want to let go of the Hebrew origin. And that was brought in by that was actually established as a nationalist movement against the Coptic Church by Ezana Jacob.
Let me ask you a question here. I have to come in there when you bring that up, especially with the Sabbath part. And then you're speaking of the two, you've been always speaking of the different churches and it being infiltrated, even I don't know if you're saying after the time of His Majesty, or well, not the time, but after 75 or during that time, and I will tell you why. But more deeper than that, the current Abuna. Now, the BBC documentary that was done on Africa and its history, and the host Zainab Badawi.
Yeah.
She would have questioned him on a few things. Now, one of the things was, first of all, that Sabbath day. She said she noticed in Ethiopia, Sunday and Saturday both like a bit of a Sabbath day. And he said, in the ancient times, our forefathers used to keep both days as holy days. But now in modern time, we more concentrate on the Sunday. Now that's just one. Hold on. Now another statement that was made, and I put the statement to the same our Abuna here in Antigua, not Abuna, pardon me, our Archmandrite here in Antigua, Gabriel Eusos. He's the priest of the Orthodox Church here. And we had a little reasoning, a little soft debate just about 2 weeks ago, not too long ago. And some of the elders were there, the same King Sadaifo and everything. And I showed him and Deacon Clark, because, one thing with them, they're very strong in this African thing. They speak strong about it. I mean, they're strong Ethiopian Orthodox, but they always speak of African brotherhood, etc. I showed them, well, listen, you're Abuna, with no disrespect, obviously, on an international documentary was asked by the same sisters, Badawi. She said, when I go around Ethiopia, I notice that a lot of, well, I think she says most, or a high amount of the pictures of Christ and Mary are, dark brown with a soft afro. And she says, why is that? And his answer was that, well, one of the statements he made, I know you would have seen me do a documentary on this. One of the statements he made is that, well, when you go to different parts of the world, for example, in the Caribbean, this is what he said. When you go to the Caribbean, you see them have a Caribbean Christ. Now, my brother, I've been to almost the Caribbean island. And I don't understand what he's saying about, with no disrespect to him. He came back to Ethiopia and he said, well, So it's the same thing with Ethiopian. They paint the Christ and Mary, how they see him. But there is no need to do that, because Jesus Christ and the Mother Mary were Jews. They were white people. He said it that plain. The Jews were white people, so we should paint them as such. And I showed that to the good priest here, and he said he disagreed. He said, no, that can't be so. No, well, I don't agree with him. I don't agree with him. So that's what he said. Remember, that's his boss, if you want to use the term, no disrespect. So I don't know if you have come across that because I know you would have reason.
Yeah, I've seen the same. I've seen the same doc. I probably saw it with the eye. I mean, I don't know. You know, I've seen that interview. You know, and I think the eye might have brought it up. I might have seen it in one of the eye's programs.
Yes.
But the point is, Russ, you see, this is one thing I've written in my book. You know, the biggest stumbling block to the world, you know, is this Israel with these white Jews. And these people, I mean, not to say that at the Abuna is ignorant, but you know, if you know about a little bit about world history, you know, I mean, these people they've only been there for a number of years, and if you know about the Khazar conversion, you know, to Judaism in the 7th and 8th century. You would know that these people were Jewish converts. The Russian people from the steppe plains of Russia were Jewish converts. So it's a lack of knowledge, and as much as our Ethiopian family, are very religious in knowledge in terms of world history, you know, and who the people are. And the idea of which Rastafari, as people of Rastafari, I know we've been, not only Rastafari, but other people, we've been searching for our African roots and the origin of civilization. We know that there was a Kushite empire, and the Kushite empire, at least up until, I would say, really, I would even go down as far as 800 BC. The Kushite Empire was prolific. It ruled everywhere. You know, I mean, it definitely ruled up to 1500 BC. You know what I mean? Like when they're talking about the time of Moses and all of those people, that was the Kushite Empire down into the what do they call the people there in Phoenicia? Canaanites, you know.
Okay, yes, the Hittites. Yeah. If you don't break up the Kushite into all these pieces, you know, you really see maybe the real longest dynastic period or whatever period they call it in history. But because we it up, you know. But anyway, go ahead.
I mean, so and this is what and now we've got we can even mention, you know, Drusilla Dundee Houston. You remember the sister who wrote?
And let me ask you this. You know, me and you reason I don't want it, but through your guy is a scholar on this level. I'm glad I don't want you to miss this point since it's there and he was lingering, and I don't think you were there for one of the discussions. Now, because remember that same term Kush, sometimes we use it loosely, which is not good, but still, as I just said, if you're going to be scholarly, you can't really use Kush, broad brush. But really, all of these different parts, as I said, are one with Kush. Now, just quickly, according to some history, Aksum brought Merowe. You know, that's the kingdom with the one-eyed sister and so what's her name? Amani Ranes and these ones. Merowe brought them to an end. Now there's this Sudanese scholar. I highlighted her already. Her name is escaping me. She's against that theory though. She says she believed Merowe came to an end by itself because of some sort of disease or something. But most scholars say that not only Aksum, but King Ezana himself is who came and broke down. Now, what I'm bringing to you is this, as a scholar too. Now, many ones would say Aksum and would relate Aksum with Kush. Now, that may not be wrong, especially if you're going to go into ethnicity and so. But yet still, Meroe is considered by history as the last stronghold of Kush. And Aksum brought Meroe to an end. Now, how do I rectify that as a scholar? Just ask it, because we were reading that.
That's a great question, because that's a great question, because this brings that idea, because that is a history that Ezana did conquer Meroe. He did. But that is where I think that the title of the triple crown of Ethiopia comes from him conquering Meroe, because it is there that the epidemic, the lion god, the triple-headed lion, comes from. So it's a question, really, but I mean, I think it's a very good question, and I think it's very poignant, because if this is such a big story, that's such a big point you brought up, Russ.
Not easy.
If Ezana did conquer Meroe, right? Then why would he, this great conqueror, become subdued under the Roman Emperor Constantine?
Theologically,
accept European Christianity to be a subservient, to the story of the Christian Rome bringing Christianity to Ezana, and through Ezana, him being an underling to the Roman Empire, converting to Christianity, because that actually brings the story into disrepute. Because if you know about him also, he didn't only overtake there, he overtook it. He went into all around the place. He went into Yemen. He expanded his empire north, across the sea, and south. So if he did that, why would he then become subdued under Constantine? That then the story becomes that he is accepted to be an underling under Constantine. That is a perversion of history. Not to say that he wouldn't have considered himself as an equal, to say, yeah, we're dealing with the same Christian story, but he wouldn't have actually put himself under domination of another power, because he king and he was a conqueror in his own right. So that actual story is an anomaly, and I'll just give that to the eye, just like that.
But King, I think we have to kind of seal up too. Give thanks, man. When we're doing a Rasta roundtable again, we planned it for Thursday. We have to go into African spirituality, which I know that I would have a good touch upon that. But whatever the case is, we decide that. Well, I was deciding that we may have to change the date to accommodate the eye. So I don't know how it looks with yourself with this Thursday coming up.
Well, yeah, I will try for this Thursday. I will definitely try for this Thursday, because I don't know what is happening. Right now, I don't know what is happening with my people this week. Okay. So I would say that I will make a commitment to come to the platform. Okay.
Well, we definitely going into African spirituality. Well, I think it's spirituality, but my presentation will be on African spirituality, so you could gear yourself with that. As far as I know, you're doing a next direct project there. I think you were speaking of that earlier on the social media aspect of it, or like it's a broadcast.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Podcast, something, I don't know if you hear it somewhere.
Yeah, I'm trying. Well, I'm not. What I'm trying to do is put a group, like maybe 4 together, that then we can, on the 23rd of July, we're going to launch it. And then because it's a series, so we're trying to push a series,
launch, yeah.
So We haven't launched it yet. We're just recording them, you know. So and to be honest with you, Priest Isaac, I'm not fully 100 with the technology. You know what I mean? Like how the eye is proficient with how everything runs here very sweetly and smoothly. You know, it doesn't actually run so sweet, but we're getting the knowledge out there, you know, because but what I wanted to say as well, which we haven't even touched on, is the idea of the Ark of the Covenant at Fairfield House, you know, and I wanted to because that's also, you know, where you see the Victory Day this week, as I said, was the 5th of May. Well, when His Majesty went back to Ethiopia with the Ark, because the Ark, you know, like you probably heard the chant from Rastafari. It says, if you don't know the history of the
Ark, you are Skylar.
All right. See that yeah. So they said the son of King Solomon took the Ark from Jerusalem to Ethiopia. Well, His Majesty has done exactly the same thing. He took the Ark from Jerusalem to Bath as an instrument of war, used it, and then carried it back to Ethiopia after he achieved the victory. Yeah. Well, you know what? And that Ark is called the Miske Huzanun Madani Elem. When he took it from Ethiopia, well, from Jerusalem, it was called Madani Elem, the Ark of the Madani Elem, which he took from Ethiopia, from Jerusalem to Bath. When he took it back, then when he had it consecrated in Bath, it was Miske Huzanun Madani Elem, which is the cover for the refugees, savior of the world, because His Majesty was a refugee with a family. When His Majesty took the church, when he took the Ark back to Ethiopia, when he took that Ark back to Ethiopia, when they deconsecrated the church at the chapel in Bath, now I have to thank the manager of Bath right now, the young Russ named Russ Benji. He gave me this information. The Miske Huzanun Madani Elem Church, which His Majesty opened in 1943, the second anniversary of his victory was on the 5th of May. So you see the power of this Ark, the Miske Huzanun Madani Elem, is what I and I, as Rastafari, need to understand and to use it. We need to come together to make Bath a central hub that we can use the spiritual power of the Ark of the Covenant, because His Majesty defeated the world with that Ark. Empress Menen, Empress Menen used to pray with that Ark. You know, I wanted to actually read a little speech out from Empress Menen, you know, about Empress Menen and this Ark. You know, it's called The Empress Tends Cabbages, you know, because it was in a greenhouse. Anyway, but I won't go into it. But that Ark has been taken back to Ethiopia, Miske Huzanun Madani Elem, and it was opened on the 5th of May, is the victory. So this year, you see, like it's sealed up. You see, and I would even tell the idea, you know, the family, look at the book of Hebrews 6, and starting at chapter 1, and it says Hebrews 6 chapter 1, it says that the Christian doctrine is done, more or less. You know what I mean? It says like, let us go on to perfection. You know what I mean? Yo. So what does it mean? Wow. Because there must be a time that the Christian doctrine is done.
Let us go on to perfection. It's true. That's exactly what it says.
Yes.
Wow.
You know, and then it finishes, you know, I think verse 20 or 30, like you know, we're talking about Melchizedek. Well, when went to the League of Nations, on, you know, these are the things I wanted to talk about. I know we're just reasoning, but when he went to the League of Nations, carrying the scepter of Solomon, you know, to the League of Nations on the 30th of June, 1936, when His Majesty did that, that is. I wanted to show you how that is the birth of that birthday, the 29th of June, you know, the 29th of June going into the 30th. 29th of June is the birth of Enoch. He says, I was born on the 7th day, right? Well, the days were reckoned from the summer solstice in them times.
That's the earth.
Is the birthday of King Solomon in the church. So you've got Melchizedek. Yeah, you've got the king, you've got the priest and the king. That's the day. And His Majesty took the power of the ark on that day with the scepter of Solomon on that day, the 30th of June, 1936, to offer his condemnation of the word for what happened to his country. And if you read 2 Ezra chapter 12 from 30 on, you will read the whole what His Majesty's, like I know the ayahs always said, Zephaniah chapter 3 verse, is it 12? Where he went,
I think it's the verse 10 somewhere
from
over there.
8 to 12, from 8 to 12, where he went and spoke to them in a pure language.
Yes, yes.
Where, well, if you go and read Ezra chapter 2, Ezra chapter 12, verse 30 on, you talk about the lion going and condemning the eagle.
That come out of the forest. Sorry.
Come out of the forest. And who is he? He's the Messiah. You know, it's written. You know, we ain't playing with these things. So this is what I'm with I and I brethren them, what we're bringing forward is the whole continuation, that is the fulfillment, and the Christian doctrine, it must come to an end, and it came to an end on the 5th of May when the Lion of Judah was lifted up, when he was raised up. And it was also I hear you. And it was also a lunar eclipse on the same day. That same 5th of May was a lunar eclipse.
41.
Make it up. you know, you couldn't write the script. You know, I mean, it's a matter of overstanding, and and he's like the eye, the eye with the eye's knowledge and the eye knowledge. We have to bring this out, my brethren.
Of course.
You know.
So the Empress Menen speech, is too long? What?
It's a thing I wrote, because it actually gives the ark. Covenant. I sort of, because the Ark of the Covenant, you've got the one at Axum, but there were 6 arks in Addis Ababa, 6 main arks in Addis Ababa.
Oh, before you go there, I don't want to keep chopping you up there, but so now just for clarity, I know you're saying arks, but I just want the audience to know you're talking of what they refer to as the tablet, which is right, like almost like a slab as such. But they really always covered down. Now, so the ark that was at Bath,
yes,
is in Ethiopia, consecrated everything. There was a specific ark. I don't know if it's the same one. I doubt it. That was with what's the soldier's name? Ababai Abahu.
Yeah, that was from Georgis. That was from Kedus Georgis.
Yes, the Ark of Kedus Georgis, as you say.
Yes.
And when the king returned, the Ark returned with him to St. George Cathedral.
Yes.
Well, even in my reason, I can see it's not the same Ark as such or the same tablet. But to me now, you were speaking earlier of your other brethren there. To me, these are the symbols to show again that, for example, Haile Selassie is, or at least strongly represent, for sure, St. George, just slewing the dragon, and the Ark of St. George, who was hidden for the time, returning to the cathedral with the king, and it rained, according to the documentary.
Yes, and Empress Menen is Woleta Georgis. She's the daughter of St. George.
Yes,
she's the daughter of that tablet. You see, she's the daughter of it, Kedus Georgis. So her lord, her husband and her lord is also her father. Because he's the he's the everything.
Yeah, got you. So it was an Empress Menen speech herself, but go through. I would like to hear your poetry. Well,
it's not a poetry. It's actually it's a little story. It's a story about the ark. That same ark. How she it's called Empress Menen tends her cabbages, and the reason it's from a book where of that. And so I'll just read it quickly. It says, the title of this story emanates from a report made by a local bobby A bobby is a policeman in
Police.
England, you know.
Yeah,
They used to call him a bobby.
that's right.
Yeah, so the title of this story emanates from a report by a local bobby, a policeman from Bath, who wrote he could frequently see the Empress squatting on the floor of the greenhouse, no longer such, he's put that in brackets, shredding cabbage leaves. No doubt that is a woman's job in her own country, but it struck the policeman as a little odd. The Empress was always in the converted chapel garden greenhouse of the estate because in 1937 His Majesty had summoned 5 priests to bring from Jerusalem to Fairfield the holy tablet of Madani Elem, the Saviour of the world, that was placed in Jerusalem during the reign of Emperor Menelik II. Her devoutness to the Tawhid of faith is evidenced by her continual prayer for a favorable outcome in the plea for justice for Ethiopia and her people, exemplified by a devotion to perform since the ceremony of coronation, when receiving the ring on her right hand from the bishop, saying, "Accept this ring as a sign of faith, and by all the authority of this ring's significance, may the Lord Exarchia, whose property it is, increase your glory for you, and so that you always be perfect, may instill the fear of the Lord Exarchia in your heart, and may he suffice you always to do work that pleases him, his imperial majesty. I am the Alpha and Omega of Revelation 22:13 is simply the first and last letters of the Greek alphabet, which is interpreted relative to the revealing of a King of Kings in Revelation 5:5, identifying the new name of the risen Christos, whose Ethiopian lineage is interpreted from the Kebra Nagast, the book of the glory of kings, narrated alongside the Holy Bible, revealing the promise from Amlak to King David, whose son Solomon with the Queen of Sheba bore a son, Bein Alechem, Emperor Menelik I, or Kadamawi Menelik, to be the founder of a dynasty who fled with the Ark of the Covenant from Jerusalem to Ethiopia. The last emperor of Ethiopia, Kadamawi Haile Selassie, which means the first holy power of the Trinity, which also equals the Father, because the first power of the Holy Trinity is the Father. So this is therefore the fulfillment of a 3,000-year-old dynasty from legend, and the first and last with his empress of the only ever double crowning ceremony in Ethiopian history. According to the Holy Bible, King Solomon built the first temple to house the sacred Ark of the Covenant, which housed 2 tablets given to Moses by Exarchia on Mount Sinai. Thence, the churches of Ethiopia maintain a physical presence of the Ark that cannot function without, using replica tablets called tabots, or sebaot, sacralized by a rite, which are synonymous with the body of the Messiah and the Holy Mother's womb, also defined as the building which the tablets are housed, being sacred places of worship. The nascent city of God, Addis Ababa, the new flower, was not established until the reign of Dagamawi Menelik. Now, Dagamawi means the second holy, Menelik, son of the wise, or second holy, to be drawn out of the age. Though its cornerstone and foundational rock-hewn church with tablet of Keranyo Madani Elem, the crucified savior of the world, was established in 1816 by Haile Selassie of Showa, with a vision for his future successors to develop the location. His grandson, Menelik II, first established in 1877 the Ark of Deborah Haile Kedus Raguel, mountain or scepter of power, of Entoto. It is the original site chosen for the founding of Addis Ababa. The third Ark of power was established in 1882. Don't forget, the first one was established by Haile Selassie in 1816, Keranios Madani Elem. Keranios Madani Elem means the savior of the world. The second one is Ragel. This was founded in 1877 by Menelik II. Right, and now the third Ark of the Power was established in 1882 of the Ethiopian calendar, Menbere Sahere Es Adbarat in Tota Mariam, which means the throne or the seat of the sun of the head mountain or the head church. So in Tota Mariam is the head church or the head mountain. The mountain is the head mountain of Ethiopia, of Addis Ababa. So that's that. So that is the third. And it was initially placed in a small house at the site, which is still there today, and was used for coronation of Negusa Negas Dagamawi Menelik in that same year. The present church in Totomadiam was rebuilt by Empress Tetu in 1914 in that same year. The present church was rebuilt by Empress Tetu in 1914 EC. The fourth ark established by Dagamawi Menelik in Addis Ababa was Membore Sabot Kidis Selassie, the seat of the son of the Holy Trinity Church, in 1884. In the same year that His Majesty was born, that tablet was placed, not in the present church where His Majesty built, but in the one preceding it, at the same place. Yes, right. So the fourth ark established by Dagamawi Menelik in Addis Ababa was Membore Sabot Kidis Selassie, the seat of the son of the Holy Trinity Church, in 1884 EC. His Majesty's Selassie's birth year, where was built a large structure near to the present Trinity Cathedral, of which the cornerstone was placed in 1924 by Kadamawi Haile Selassie, yet was not completed until 1936 of the Ethiopian calendar, which would have been 1943-44 of the Babylon calendar, after the victory of the 1933 or 1941 AD. The fifth ark of Kidus Georgis, the patron of Ethiopian armies, was built to commemorate the victory over Italy at the Battle of Adwa in 1896, and was later the venue for the coronation of Negesta Zuditu and Kadamawi Haile Selassie. The sixth ark is Miske Huzanun Madani Alem, reliever of the aggrieved, or cover for refugees, savior of the world, that was brought back to Addis Ababa from Fairfield in Bath, where the royal family lived as refugees, hence its name, arriving after the 1933 of the Ethiopian calendar or 1941 AD victory with Ethiopian patriots. The significance of Empress Menen squatting on the floor and tending cabbages was to embrace cumulative power of prayer, using the Arks of the Covenant from Addis Ababa, the new flower, with the remnant from Old Jerusalem, the place of visitation of His Imperial Majesty the First, on his journey to the League of Nations, whereas Melchizedek, in the footwell of King Solomon and the great prophet Henoch's birthday, June the 29th, the scepter of Solomon in his hand on June the 30th to deliver a prophetic judgment to the nations of the world, who would deliver up at least 60 million people as sacrifice to the evil events of World War II. That was sparked on October the 3rd, 1935, when Mussolini's fascist army entered the borders of Ethiopia, with silent acquiescence of those nations who failed to enact the covenant of collective security for surety for an independent sovereign nation. It can be said in light of this history, the Ark of the Covenant left Jerusalem to Ethiopia via Fairfield House, Bath, England, as an instrument of war, which is no longer ancient legend, but a living legend of historical truth. If you don't know the history of the Ark, you are skylark. The six foundational arks from Addis Ababa, with the seventh, the Ark of Kidus Mariam of Zion in Aksum, are the conglomerate-based power. Empress Menen was active in promoting women's issues in Ethiopia, was patroness of the Ethiopian Red Cross and the Ethiopian Women's Charitable Organization. She was also patroness of the Jerusalem Society that arranged for pilgrimages to the Holy Land. She founded the Empress Menen School for Girls in Addis Ababa, the first all-girls school which had both boarding and day students. Girls from all over the empire were brought to the school to receive a modern education, encouraged by the Empress, who visited it often and presided over its graduation ceremonies. The Empress gave generously, as well as sponsored programs for the poor, ill and disabled people. She was also a devoutly religious woman who did much to support the Ethiopian Tewidah Church. She built, renovated, and endowed numerous churches in Ethiopia and in the Holy Land. Prominent among these is the Kiddush Rugel Church in Addis Ababa, Mercato District, the Kidani Meheret, Our Lady Covenant of Mercy Church on Mountain Toto, and the Holy Trinity Monastery on the banks of the River Jordan in the Holy Land. She gave generously from her personal funds toward the building of the new Cathedral of St. Mary of Zion at Axum, but did not live to see it completed and dedicated. When the Empress was exiled from Ethiopia during the Italian occupation from 1936 to 1941, she made a pledge to the Virgin Mary at the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, promising to give her crown to the Church if Ethiopia were liberated from occupation. The Empress made numerous pilgrimages to holy sites in then British ruled Palestine, in Syria and in Lebanon, during her exile to pray for her occupied homeland. Following the return of Emperor Haile Selassie and his family to Ethiopia in 1941, a replica of the crown was made for future empresses, but the original crown that Empress Menen was crowned with at her husband's side in 1930 was sent to the Church of Nativity in Bethlehem. Empress Menen, although often seen wearing a tiara at public events that called for it, would never again wear the full crown. Haile Selassie, Jah Rastafari. Yes, sir.
Yes, my Lord, give thanks, man.
Yes. I would just like to say, you know, this is just to push forward the idea and the power of prayer that His Majesty and Empress Menen used these Ark of the Covenant to gain liberation for Ethiopia. And as as Rastafari, as Tewahedo Rastafari, we can embrace this power of this Ark to make ourselves economically secure. You know, we just have to work with the Ark. And the Ark, the remnant of the Ark and the power is at Fairfield House. So ones and ones, whether you're 12 tribe, Bobo Shanti, Orthodox, or Nyabingi, we can work with the power of this Ark to make an economic base and build ourselves into a nation. Because if His Majesty used it to free up the world, why can't I use it? I give thanks, Rastafari.
Yes, my Lord, I give thanks, you know, for, this was a good sit down, my Lord. I appreciate the strength. You don't know we're going to do it again. Thursday evening, we set in for Rasta Round Table, and we should be reasoning about African spirituality. So, looking forward, my Lord.
Okay, beloved. Honor and respect. Give thanks.
Yes, my Lord, give thanks. Give thanks. We give thanks for the King Seifa Sellassie, of course. What a beautiful sit down a moment ago. Family, I'm just reminding you, remember you could definitely join me Friday morning for the yoga hike, the sunrise hike. If you're just coming in for sure, as I said earlier, we're definitely highlighting the summer solstice. This is an ancient African tradition. And for sure, it will be Sunday, the 23rd, and Friday, the 21st. We are definitely having the double hike. Those who will not be coming to Antigua and would like to partake with us in the hikes, we are doing it virtually. Remember, we are going amongst the megaliths that align with the heavens, that align with the stars, and of course we're going to have lecturers with us. We intend to have the Nyabingi drummers with us. It's going to be a beautiful vibration. Specifically, that will be the Sunday, but again, the Friday, we are definitely doing it on the yoga level, a calm level, the sunrise level, talking about the sun to the most northern part of the zodiac belt. That is what is known as the summer solstice. So remember, you could definitely visit our website before you leave us this evening, brothers and sisters. Make sure you like the video, give a thumbs up, much more people in the house than the thumbs are up. So let's give it some thumbs up for sure, especially if you full enjoy the information. It was definitely upful. I wanted to take a look at this. Yeah, just a quick look. Solstice. Okay, hold on. That was quick, eh? 7 seconds. Let's check it again. Okay, don't blink now. Don't blink. Oh my, you blink. But anyway, as I said, for sure, that's the summer solstice. You can definitely visit the website, priestisaacinstitute.com. You could get your virtual ticket or tickets or however you're going to do it for sure. Each hike is only $30. All you got to do is contact us and you get the double hike for only 50. I mean, it's almost as good as being there. I'm not going to tell you it's just as good as being there. It's not just as good as being there. Being there is being there. You know, you should be here, but don't worry. Next time you're going to be here, I'm sure. Am I correct? Of course, next time. We're doing it in September, you know. I'm talking about the balance, the equinox, as we do it every September. We're doing it in December, you know. We're talking about the solstice, the winter solstice, as we do it every December. So, yeah, give thanks for those who will be with us this solstice, but those who will not be with us physically, again, you can join us virtually. I would definitely encourage it. Yeah. Yes, Rastafari. Hey, give thanks for your presence with us. Remember, the link is in the description below for the website. And of course, visit us, Radio Anu, the international flavor, the universal spice. That's where you should be going to right now. Many of you have been missing the Tiger's Nest radio program. I have many, many Tiger's Nest radio programs that you would have missed all previous strong last week, as they call it. You should definitely press the link in the description below this video and join us on the Tiger's Nest. Give thanks, Radio Anu.
It's the Summer Solstice Extravaganza, a festival unlike any other in the world. Join us for 5 days and 5 nights in the beautiful Caribbean island of Antigua. Come and full joy the pristine, beautiful beaches, the historical sites on the island tour. Indulge in the experience of the cannabis tour. And of course, the sunrise and the sunset hike to Green Castle Hill, the Stonehenge of the Caribbean, amongst the megaliths that align with the stars. Remember that this is an all-inclusive wellness event to include your plant-based, fully vegan meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Transportation and accommodation will be provided for, plus yoga, meditation, and chalice talk with the Honorable Priest Isaac. Plus meet and greet with family and friends and the whole Rastafari experience Antigua Tea. Join us again from the 19th to the 23rd of June for the Summer Solstice Extravaganza. To reserve your space today, visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com.